Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
Hey, what's going on, guys? aarava here, and welcome back to another part of my F1 2018 career mode here for part number 5 at the Spanish Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the last 2 parts at the Chinese and Azerbaijan Grand Prix, uploaded both yesterday. Be sure to go check those out. Annotation in the top right. But coming into this one then, we have that second minor upgrade to the engine that's been installed. Of course, we're still waiting one more round for that fixed part we're doing for the chassis upgrade. That's going to take a further race weekend to actually come in. Obviously, that's the one we purchased all the way at the start of the season, so that's taken a fair long time to actually do it, or episode 2 I should say. But we've got a brand new engine upgrade, so surprisingly we've had 2 engine updates compared to only 1 chassis, even though I said we weren't going to do much upgrading on the engine, but that's just how the failures have worked really. But before we get into the rest of the episode, we've got some contract negotiations to do.
It's time for us to renegotiate your contract. Here you can see the current deal. Once negotiations begin, the team will make you an offer. You can accept if you like, but I strongly suggest we push for better terms.
So this was actually technically the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but I wanted it to start off this episode really, because this is the first ever time we're getting to experience upgrading the contracts. So obviously we've been going pretty okay, but we've also been beaten by K-Mag more times than we've beaten him. So at the start I thought about maybe doing the first driver. I thought, okay, so we'll keep the qualifying position at 10th place. I feel like that is a thing that I can always achieve, 10th place, aiming to just get into Q3, and then for the race going on, 2 more places at least for P8. I felt like that was okay. In terms of the team goal, I kept it easy. Obviously, the team goal is basically the extra contract perk you get in terms of the bonus. So, i.e. the one I did out Australia, which is the clean race, and then completing practice programs, I got an extra set of resource points. So that's the team goal. If you go to medium, it gets a little bit harder, of course, and then it goes to hard, which is, I'm guessing, a really difficult kind of bonus to ask. Maybe something crazy like a, top 4 or top podium or whatever like that. But you can see the contract perks now. I wanted to go for simultaneous development. I thought pushing for a race bonus was also maybe something we could have done. So we've gone for a race bonus of level 1. Level 1 on the simultaneous development, so that means we can develop 2 upgrades from the same department at the same time, as long as they're not on the same tree branch on the R&D chart. But we've not gone for anything on the pit stop efficiency. To be honest, I think that's the last thing I would ever ask for on the contract, is the pit stop efficiency. I'm not too fussed about that. It doesn't really lose us too much time. The only place where it's come a crop and kind of annoyed me was basically back at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, literally the last episode. But really, that was more of a case of bad luck and bad timing from Van Dorn coming in right behind us. Whereas, faster pit stop might have helped, but not that much. So that's what we're going to go for straight away. We're going to try and ask for that. You can see I've moved down from first driver to second driver. Considering Magnussen has beaten us, more times than we've beaten him, I feel like the team probably won't kind of accept a first driver contract. And also, I'm asking quite a lot on the contract perks straight off the bat here. So I'm going to kind of balance that out with the second driver. We'll see how that goes.
We're asking for too much here. We need to make some compromises.
So we got our first rejection. That's unfortunate, but we get 2 more attempts, you can see on the bottom right. We can also choose a different team, but of course at this stage of my career, I'm pretty happy with Haas. So we're going to move things around. We're going to go to none on the race perk. Instead, I'm going to go to the first driver role and see if that works out, because I feel like maybe the role isn't as important. Maybe the perks are the thing that's kind of taking it over the edge.
They aren't coming round to that proposal. Let's try something else.
And for a second time, we're rejected. So these negotiations aren't going so well. Haas a little bit stern with me. So we're going to probably bump it down to second driver. Keep the lack of race perks. But I feel like that alone should be good, because we're quite close now. Look at the bottom right there. That's how the value has changed each time I offer a contract or, a way that I want to sign it. So you can see we're pretty damn close. I feel like moving from first to second driver should be the key to just bump it lower than our value.
All right. The terms have been agreed. All that's left is to sign the paperwork. You'll be on this new deal from the next race weekend.
And there we go, negotiation successful. So I'm pretty happy with what we came away. We're already a second driver, so I'm not fussed with that. The objective for quali in the race stays the same. We've got the same team goal of easy, but we've now got an added race perk, or I should say R&D perk of getting simultaneous development. So when we get to a part of the tree where there are 2 branches, we can do 2 upgrades at once, essentially, and that'll be really good to exponentially grow the car and improve the car. And then also, obviously, we have that also other perk of the upgrade speed. So that's going to be quite big. That was level 2. I didn't even mention that, but the entire time we are staying put and firm of the upgrade speed being level 2, which means the major and the minor are decreased by 1 week. So instead of taking 2 weeks for a minor, it'll take 1 week to upgrade, and for a major, instead of taking, I'm assuming it'll take 4 weeks for a major, that'll only take 3 weeks, or it might be 3 to go into 2. So that's going to be a big difference. So straight away, all these small upgrades at the very start here, we can just rapidly do that, and we can get onto the major ones, which are obviously the biggest leaps. But going into the Spanish Grand Prix weekend, then you can see it's going to be raining in qualifying, so that's going to be our very first full wet kind of, you know, race condition settings of rain. Obviously, we've only had rain in practice. It's never really mattered. So for the first time now, we'll get to see how we do. It's going to be for qualifying only. For the race, going to be dry. So going to have to think about this setup maybe and kind of go for a half and half setup. But let's go into practice then and see how we do in that first.
Welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. Over the next few minutes, the teams will be heading out onto this classic Formula One track for what we're expecting to be a very hectic practice session. Anthony Davidson is here as usual to help take us through the action. And Ants, I've seen some questions on social media and other places about this current crop of F1 cars and why they're so much faster now, despite being significantly heavier than the previous generations of machines. Take us through that one.
I'd be happy to, Crofty. And simply put, it's a matter of grip. Now, that comes from 2 sources. You have what we call mechanical grip, which comes from the surface of the tyre sticking to the road. And these tyres are significantly wider now when compared to previous years, so they have the potential for more mechanical grip. Then you have the downforce, of course, which pushes the car into the road as the air moves over it, thus generating grip. And these cars have about 20% more downforce, which is more than enough to overcome the added weight.
So pretty straightforward practice session at the Circuit de Catalunya. A track I went well out of last year's game, and this year's game no different. I felt very comfy around here, but I can't believe I'm quite saying it, but unfortunately there was no rain in the entirety of practice, which means I had no practice of those kind of conditions ahead of qualifying. Of course, the race is going to be in dry, so that's fine. I'm feeling good for the race in the way the car feels around here. I think I've got a good setup for it, but in terms of qualifying, it is really a stab into the unknown. The only maybe half practice was in FP3. The track conditions were getting really cold, you can see, very overcast, and that actually made the track temperature so cold that I spun it out of turn 2 there, so gonna have to watch out for that at the very start of quali, but it's gonna rapidly start raining, so let's hit it then and just see how we do.
Here we are at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for the start of today's qualifying session. It won't be long now until we're ready to join the action down at trackside. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction, and over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong, and that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
Right, so it's showtime here in Q1, and we need to get straight out there because it is not raining right now. It's going to be just like it was in FP3, very cold conditions, so we have to be careful on the throttle and just general traction because the track is very cold, but it's not raining yet. It will be, though, by the end of Q1, so I've gone straight out, literally one of 5 cars, I think, straight out of the box then. And we've got to set in a time. Basically, even if it's a bad lap and a banker lap, it's going to be better than anything any of the AI can do on intermediates later in the session. You can see Raikkonen thinking the same thing. We're going to go through the last chicane then on this flying lap. It's not been an amazing one. As I said, tricky conditions. The track definitely felt very different to FP1 and 2 when it was nice and sunny. But across the line then up into the top 4. And by the end of the session, you can see, well, in the middle of the session, as the rain comes down then, no one is coming out. Literally, the pit lane is like a ghost town. No one's bothering to go out because they know they can't improve the lap times because it's now starting to rain, and so we will finish up in a very lofty PA there ahead of K-Mag. Obviously, it doesn't really matter in Q1, just as long as we get out of the session. You can see all the guys that got eliminated then, and yeah, no one set a time for literally the last 10 minutes of Q1. Then we go into Q2 then, and it is now raining. It's time for intermediates, and we're going to actually put in fuel from Q1. We're going to bump it up to about 5 laps of fuel, and that's going to leave me enough fuel to be on max fuel mixture and go for 2 laps. So I feel like, it's not an exact science, but I feel like for me personally, in these kind of conditions, especially the first time I'm doing them, I need 2 laps consecutively to try and get the best out of it. Have a banker lap, essentially, try and feel out the circuit, try and feel where I can go full throttle, when I can go full throttle in some of the longer corners, and then the second lap is when I really start to push it, and you try and play on the knife edge of where the car's on the grip. You kind of feathering the throttle, tapping the throttle, trying to just get on the power as early as you can. You kind of figure that out on the first lap and then really go for it in the second. You can already see into turns 1 and 2 and then 3 finding time already compared to that first banker lap. So at the moment we're in P8, but obviously people are going to set faster times just like I am. So we need to keep on going through this lap. You can see already finding a lot of time in sector 1 then. So by the time we come through the last chicane then, we're in P5 at the moment then. We're going to come through the last corner and a little bit skatish, but we're going to find the time and we're going to get across and up into P3 for now, but by the end of the session, that is going to be ending up in P7, just ahead of Kevin Magnussen in P8. But you can see both of us into Q3, both Renaults into Q3, so just like China, it looks like it's going to be Haas v Renault for best of the rest there, and the Ferrari's looking pretty damn strong. I'm surprised the Red Bulls aren't right up there. You would imagine the Red Bulls around Catalonia, even in the dry, would be very good, and in the rain, maybe even better, but surprisingly, the Red Bulls, as has been the case this entire career mode so far, they've definitely been on the back foot, and they've maybe not been developing as fast as they want to. So now we're into Q3, and just like was the case in Q2, we're going to go for 2 runs. We've got a little bit less time to work with, but we can still fit in 2 runs here. But just kind of looking at if the track temps are going to go any better, they're not. It looks like it might even get worse as we go on through the session. So, like I said, maybe it might even be time for full wets right at the end of the session. So, I've gone out kind of, semi-early, and you can see even though the sun is parting through, I feel like you can kind of tell the rain's coming down a little bit harder than it was in Q2. So, definitely need these 2 laps, the one to kind of size up the lap and then the second one to really go for it. You can see a little bit opposite lock there, going left into a right-handed corner as we go through on the first flying lap then, and so now we'll try this second one until we can find some time. At the moment, obviously, pop it up into P4. Some people yet to set lap times then as we go through into sector 2. Ricciardo goes fastest, so that's exactly what I thought would happen. Red Bulls would turn up eventually in Q3, so they have done, but we're still finding some good time then in sector 2. This section of the track, very tricky in the middle there as you go up the hill in the dry, let alone in the wet. It's tricky now in this year's game with the curbing physics, but in the wet even harder. We managed to skate through then, and so we're going to go through to the end of the lap then. At the moment we're in P6. Bottas yet to set a good time. We're going to go up into P3. Very lofty heights, obviously in the wets when you can make some surprises, but eventually the top guys turn up the wick, they turn up, and it's a Noah's Ark 2x2. Ferrari, Red Bull, Merc, Haas, Renault. We're best of the rest, P7, can't ask for any more. Magnussen P8, so we beat our teammate, we beat both Renaults, and so I'm very, very happy, and I'm actually shocked at how well I've done in intermediate conditions. Obviously, if you guys are familiar with my channel, in 2017, and pretty much most of the F1 games in the past, I've not been very good at the wet. I think the only time I was great in the wet was maybe F1 2016, because the AI used to be very poor on traction, but in 2017 I was a horrendous inters and full wet conditions. But so far, that's looking pretty damn good, but obviously the race is going to be dry, so it doesn't matter. So we just go back to our focus of what was the case in FP1 and FP2, and we try and dial back into the dry running around Catalonia. So let's go to the race. I think it can be a really, really great one here from P7 on the grid.
Good afternoon from a very familiar setting. It's race day here in Spain, and with everything still to play for in the championship battle, there's no room for mistakes in a Grand Prix that's well known for creating them. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 of this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Nico Hülkenberg. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be, it's about effective damage limitation.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion. And Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton and Bottas. The engineer, Magnussen, Sainz and Fernando Alonso. Van Dorn, Gasly, Sergio Perez and Hulkenberg. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon, Hartley, Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson. Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So on to race day and the grid, and of course, due to qualifying on the intermediate tyres, everyone gets a free choice of tyre compounds for this race. So that's going to make things a little bit easier for us in terms of maybe in terms of challenging maybe for good points, because it's going to be a two-stop, 2 sets of soft tyres and the mediums, and we're going to completely avoid this super soft tyre, which means literally this entire race weekend we have not run the fastest compound F tyre in any kind of meaningful fashion. The only time I did that was in the practice program. So yeah, kind of a bit of an odd situation. But I don't know, so far the vibe in the last 3 episodes has pretty much been trying to be a bit more conservative, and that's kind of weird to say because I've always been one for very aggressive strategies, but it's been working out for us, and the 2-stop I think is going to be pretty doable. Looking at the rest of the grid, it looks like most people are trying the same thing, bar maybe Sebastian Vettel there you can see, and Valtteri Bottas on super soft tyres, and Hulkenberg with a penalty there. So most of us trying that 2-stop, so I think it's the way to go. Let's go for then the 5 red lights at the Spanish Grand Prix, round number 5 of the 2018 season here. 5 red lights are on for an age, but now they're out and we're on the way. It's a good start there for Bottas and an equally better one for Magnussen. I've been actually swamped. That's actually a horrendous start there, because you've also got Alonso on my right hand side, you've got a car on the left as well, and we've got the Renault down my right hand side. Alonso's on the left, and we nearly slammed to the back of Hamilton there. Yellow flags behind us. And so Magnussen's made a great start there. He's side by side with Lewis Hamilton there. And look at that, K-Mag's actually bumping Hamilton off the road there. And Magnussen is ahead of the Mercedes man, Hamilton. And Bottas has made a stonking start, of course. As you would imagine, Bottas on the super soft tyres, his tyres are going to grip in so much more, especially because it's overcast, so the track is a little bit colder and not ideal conditions, and so that's going to really help him out at the very starting stage of this race, the Finn. But look at that, Hamilton now tries to come back at Magnussen, and K-Mag's giving him a real good fight there, but unfortunately, obviously, eventually, I would assume the Mercedes is going to overtake him, but look at that, he's actually done the switchback move on him. That's amazing. He's giving him such a good fight there. Now, this is crazy, because now we're closing right up, and we might have a chance to have a pop. Let's see. They're still somehow side by side through the last corner. Hamilton is still somehow behind Magnussen, but I'm imagining now will be the time Hamilton pulls out. There we go, and he's going to overtake. The sparks fly away into my cockpit here. I'm just trying to suss out when I can make a move. You can see I'm filling around my ERS deployment, but to be honest, I've got nowhere to go right now, as Magnussen and Hamilton are literally a roadblock for me and Alonso. As you can see, Alonso's right up my gearbox as well. Now, finally, K-Mag, oh my God! Magnussen gets dropped with some dirty air, and then nearly plows straight into the back of him. I have to take some avoiding action and go off circuit, lift out of that, and that's allowed Alonso now to creep up. Not even Alonso, Perez now. Perez has overtaken Fernando. Alonso is now trying to overtake me, and K-Mag twice now has brake checked me in the middle of a high-speed corner, and so only twice now I nearly slammed to the back of him. So I just about keep it ahead of Sergio Perez, who's now got Fernando Alonso for company, and I'm closing right up to K-Mag, who looks like he's been really unsettled now by that little pinch of Hamilton, that dirty air he got hit with. And so now can we try and make a move? Now he's going to stick to the middle of the circuit, so we have a look around the outside. Doesn't work out, and he's really parked the car quite well in the apex there, so we'll have to wait for the main straight to make a move. But yeah, that really wasn't ideal, because now, I mean, it was a bit of a roadblock with Hamilton and K-Mag going side by side, but now it's not ideal because you can see how much of a gap Hamilton's got to us. And I feel like now at this stage, through this corner, clearly as we go up the hill, I've got the better pace now through turns 2, through this sector 2, I should say. I feel like Magnussen kind of burnt up his tyres, overtaking Hamilton and fighting him, and obviously we know how the tyre carcass is very important, so we go for a dive down the inside, but it's not worked out. We've locked up on the front left. I've gone far too hot into that corner, and fair play, K-Mag's kept it kind of composed and he's done the switch back on me, and he's got the place back. So, yeah, I've been a bit too eager there, a bit too impatient, and I wanted to get it done, but I just launched it into the corner way too much. Obviously, like I mentioned, colder conditions, the track grip's just not there. So I felt like maybe if it was nice and sunny, I maybe could have maybe pulled that off and just about slowed down the car. But it doesn't matter, because in the end now, on that 5, we do get it around the outside with DRS aid and also ERS deployment. And we're up into P7, back to our where we qualified, essentially. And so on the left, you can see the clouds part, and so the track might be getting a little bit hotter as the sun comes out, but K-Mag's had such a good run, and he's going to go for it. He's going to go for a big old dive into turn 4. So caught unaware there, just like with the move Rick Bobby made in Baku there. Magnussen out of nowhere makes a big dive bomb, and he's actually done it because he's on the inside then for the rest of the turn 4, and then just squeezed me out. So into turn 5 couldn't do anything. Turn 6 as we go into, oh my god, bit of contact there. That was a little bit, yeah, that's not what's ideal.
Easy. We don't want to see you take each other.
Yeah, you can see the engineer's definitely not liking the contact there. I didn't mean to make contact with him. I was trying to go for a move down the inside, but K-Mag's really placing his car quite well, and just then it was just a bit too much to the inside where I was trying to still make a dive to the inside, and we just made a little bit of contact on the front right, but it's okay because eventually we do get it down the inside after the second DRS detection zone. And so we're back up into P7, but Magnussen giving me a real good fight here, and I feel like off this last corner he's going to once again have the speed to maybe make another move, because the DRS and ERS combination down this main straight is so good. Look at that, he's closing like a stabbed rat. Absolutely insane there on the left hand side. We're up into high ERS mode, and he's just flown past us, so the DRS is working very effectively here around Catalonia. A bit too good in some kind of way. So we have to wait now, and feel like maybe wait till the second sector once again to make a move. It looks like we have a lot of pace going into that high-speed chicane where it dips down before climbing up the hill. I feel like I have so much better momentum going into that chicane and then up the hill, and then obviously the second DRS point again. Oh my god, that is so close to making contact. And look at that. Oh, K-Mag's made a mistake. So we've overtaken him. We locked up ourselves on the front left, but Magnussen had a double lock up, and now he's let Alonso pass. So it's not ideal for us two teammates to be battling this hard, because we're now losing time to Alonso. But, you know, to be honest, I've been beaten by Magnussen now, what is it, 3 times? So I need to buck up and beat him this race. I just need to. But because we've been fighting so hard with Magnussen, we've allowed Alonso to come into this battle, and even he's got the straight line speed to overtake us with the DRS and ERS. Even despite having the Renault V Ferrari engine in the back of our car. And now Magnussen, look at this, through turn 3 again. He's looking dangerous. We're going to go to the inside this time. I've learned from my last time out, and I've got to cover off the inside line. Don't let him dive down my inside once again, because otherwise he would have got me again for the second time now in that part of the circuit. And now I just want to close back up to Alonso, use the DRS. We go up into overtake mode on ERS. You can see in the background the Force Indias also looking a little bit dangerous. They're closing up slowly to Magnussen, so I need to make this pass done, and then I need to pretty much just get away from Alonso and let him fight Magnussen, and then I'll be fine. As long as I can stay ahead of K-Mag and also the rest of the midfield, I'll be good. You know, maximum P7 best of rest slot is what I'm going for, and into lap 10 we actually come straight in, so I'm not even going to let any of the other guys behind me overtake me down the main straight, because we're in, but actually Alonso fancies copying me and comes in with me. So I'm sure his engineer told him to just kind of cover me off and cover what I was doing. And obviously all of us on soft tyres, I assume we're doing all the same strategy of soft, medium. So we're on to another set of soft tyres then, and it's a good pit stop. Unlike Baku, don't get held up by McLaren there. And so now we're going to remain ahead of Alonso. Now it's really a question of where Magnussen's going to be, because he continues on for one more lap. So let's see how the undercut works for us. But we're going to come out just ahead of Marcus Ericsson then in the Sauber car. And so that's good for us, because Alonso has to overtake Ericsson first. But also we've got a bit of traffic now coming up in the form of Nico Hülkenberg, who's right up the back of Sergei Sorokin, who's going to come in that struggling Williams car. And we have to lift off a little bit, otherwise I was going to hit the back of Hülkenberg. But now as we go down the main straight, DRS open there, standard mixture, but overtake mode on the ERS. Here we go, gaining time. Obviously, Hülkenberg's also got DRS, so that's helping him out there. So we go toe-to-toe into turn 1, and that wasn't an easy overtake. That was definitely had to be done under braking due to the DRS for Nico. But as we go and chase after the next car, just showing you the top flight then, it's Ricciardo leading the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Max Verstappen, both of them obviously doing the same strategy as me. Then you've got Raikkonen in P3, that's Vettel in P4, so remember, he he was in P1, but he started on the super soft, so Vettel with a bit of an odd strategy, and then Bottas behind him. Then you got Sergio Perez, and then behind him is Lewis Hamilton. So Hamilton's been struggling this entire race with some sort of car issue. Of course, that kind of maybe explains why he was so slow at the very start of this race and was battling Magnussen for so long. But yeah, it's Perez, Hamilton, then Ocon there. So very weird top order. And so it takes us 2 laps then after we overtook Hulkenberg to then catch up to Charles Leclerc, who looks to be doing maybe even a 1-stop here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Maybe the best bet for him to get that Sauber into the points there. So we're closing up quite rapidly now into high ERS mode here, and through Sector 2, I feel like with the downforce advantage, this is where we're going to get him rather than waiting till the main straight here. So on lap 14, can we try and get this done as quickly as possible? I will note, though, we are already ahead of Magnussen. He's come out ahead of Alonso, but behind us. And here we go now. This switchback of dreams on the racing line. Down the inside we went, and down the inside of the high-speed chicane before the hill, and we're up into P9. That was a really nice move. Calculated, you know, I straight lined the corner before to straighten out the car faster to get it down the inside there, and so that was a nice pass. But on to lap now, what is 16, so 2 laps later, and Magnussen is flying with DRS once again, and we're going to once again have a battle, I feel, with our teammate. It's getting a little bit frustrating in a way, because he's just ruining our race in a way, in terms of I could be going about my business, but at least it's some action, obviously, because we're kind of in no man's land. So at least we're getting some action with our teammate here. So we're going to try and re-overtake it now. Down the inside we go. He's had better brakes over there. We're making a bit of contact on the front left tyre banging there with Magnussen, but we're on the inside of turn 3. He has to lift off, and so he's going to have Alonso for company as well. But saying that, it's slightly annoying, but it's also been some great battling. You know, this has definitely been the best race so far for me v my teammate here so far in the 2018 career mode. But now on lap 20, we're in now for our final pit stop on mediums. Magnussen continues on. Once again, Alonso copies me and comes in. So that stint was pretty straightforward. Apart from the slight battle with Magnussen for 2 laps there, it was pretty straightforward just driving to lap 20 and going onto these medium tyres. And now we'll go to the end of the Grand Prix. Once again, thankfully, don't get held up by Alonso and the McLaren there. And so now this will be interesting to see, because we've not got any traffic here, but Magnussen is contending out for 1 more lap on soft tyres, so this will be the chance to see what the softs v mediums are like. And so as we move on later, 1 more lap, of course, onto lap 22 then, Magnussen's been going on for 2 laps, and he comes out ahead of us. It looks like, yeah, that is going to be ahead of us in this Grand Prix. So the worn soft tyres were still better than cold new medium tyres. So definitely he's done well there. I don't know if that was on purpose, if he knew that was going to happen, but Magnussen's jumped myself and Alonso there on an overcut strategy. So now we have to re-overtake him if we want that P7. But actually it's not P7, because the Force Indias are also trying a 1-stop. Remember, I said Leclerc was maybe trying a 1-stop in the Sauber. Ocon and Perez are both trying a 1-stop as well. So here we go, as we try and attack Magnussen around the outside. We're going to try in Sector 3. Doesn't work out. I tried to go for the switchback on the right-hand side, but Magnussen parks the car and just brake checks us quite well. And so we have to wait patiently for the last chicane and the drive off the final corner to try and get this there. He's going to have DRS, though, off Ocon, so this might be difficult for us to overtake him, but hopefully both of us can overtake Ocon in quick succession. So here we go with DRS open there. DRS, obviously, ERS, I should say, onto hot lap mode, and overtake then as we go into turn 1, and he's going to pressurize Ocon. Magnussen is, and Ocon's made a big mistake there. Lock up, and he's fallen susceptible to myself and Magnussen, and maybe potentially even Fernando Alonso at the end there. Not quite. Alonso still has to work for it, but now we move on onto lap 23, middle of the lap then in Sector 2. Once again, very strong round here. Can we now do the job on Magnussen? Great run up the hill. DRS open, ERS flowing up into overtake mode there. We're still on standard mixture, actually. I'm not really using my fuel mixture too much. Down the inside, there we go. We're going to go wide on purpose, try and open up the steering wheel, squeeze them out, and we're up into P8. And that is hopefully the last I see of K-Mag. But you just know in Sector 3, as we try and save some ERS into none, you can see, and low, trying to save as much battery as I can, because I want to go up into overtake mode and a hot lap to try and get away from K-Mag and defend on the main straight. But once again, the AI are going to be really good through the last corner, just like they were in 2017. So I'm going to go a little bit into the middle of the circuit, try and break the toe, up into rich mix as well. But pretty much despite having everything on the car at max, Magnussen is coming even faster with DRS here. That's the crucial decider. The DRS is the difference, and Magnussen back down the inside. And once again, we're staring at the back of the gearbox of our teammate at the Spanish Grand Prix. So we've only got a finite amount of laps left in this race. We need to make the pass stick, and then we need to get moving, because there is that other pink dot on the mini-map, which is Sergio Perez. We've overtaken Ocon, but Perez is still there for the taking. He's on a one-stop. Now, that might give him the track advantage, but that is going to be a very slow Force India car at the end of this race. So I need to make this pass stick now on Magnussen. We go to the inside once again, the place where we made contact earlier in the race. Down the inside, though, this time we'll lift off a little bit to give him the room, but then on the outside, we get the traction. We're already ahead before we go up the hill. I was really prepared that I had to go side by side up the hill, but no, thankfully, Magnussen backed out of that just as we went up the hill, and so I defend to the inside. He wants to try and go around the outside, but we're just going to park the car, then scrub off the speed, open up the steering wheel, and now, that is the time now to get away, and we do get away, because on the next lap then, Magnussen double locks up, and Alonso overtakes him, so K-Mag has shot his tyres a little bit, maybe, trying to battle me, and Alonso has got ahead of him, and so now that is going to be my period of time to push so flat out to try and catch Perez then. But at the moment, in the lead of the Grand Prix is Daniel Ricciardo from Max Verstappen. Then you've got Kimi Raikkonen in third place. Then Vettel ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton is still way down the order in terms of actual lap time there. He's got back up into what is P6, but he's like so far away from Bottas, so he's clearly still trying to nurse some issues home. But that is Perez. That is me. I'm trying to push as hard as I can, try and catch him up. I will have the pace by the end of this race. The Haas is much better than the Force India at the moment in this stage of the season. And so we move on to the second last lap of the Grand Prix, lap 32, and we are within 1 second of Sergio Perez. So we need to get this job done. It's not a guarantee that we overtake him. We've caught him up now, but we know how well the AI now on this game are being aggressive. So let's see if we can do it. Meanwhile, though, we've got K-Mag with DRS open, overtaking Fernando Alonso on the outside there of turn 1. Alonso's going to push him hard, though. They're still side by side into turn 2. Alonso tries around the outside, no use though into turn 3, and Magnussen's got Alonso. Can we be inspired by that move and equally overtake Perez? We go and straighten up the car as fast as we can here. Look at that little V shape on the racing line really gives us the traction here into the high-speed chicane before we go up the hill on the left, right the curb. But unlike Magnussen, Perez keeps his foot in there, and he's still ahead as we go up the hill now. We'll have DRS though. We got behind on the detection point, and so we're going to have DRS. We pull to the right, but it's not going to be enough straight line speed there. We have to pull out to the right because Perez was parking on the left, and I just can't manage to get him then into the next few corners of Sector 3. So we kind of recompose ourselves, go back to low on the ERS, go on lean as well, and just basically reset ourselves for this final lap now, and hopefully we can get this done into turn 1 maybe. We go up into rich mix then. We're going to go up the order on ERS. We'll have DRS, and so now this is it. Onto the final lap of the Grand Prix. Can we do this? We're gaining with the DRS and the ERS set to maximum, but it's not going to be quite enough, I don't think, by the end of this straight as we just get to the brake zone. I have a little peek down the inside. Doesn't work out, though. We're so far back still, but we're going to have to wait patiently and just keep the car at the limit in the corners and maybe try again in Sector 2, but this time maybe some different ways to go about it. Maybe down the inside rather than the outside as we go up the hill into that second DRS point. I'm already thinking that far ahead on this lap, but at the moment the flag has already gone. I think the Red Bull Racing team have finally got some luck in this season. Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo is going to win the Spanish Grand Prix. Fantastic for him, obviously, after some bad luck in the last few rounds. Of course, he got taken out at the very end of the race at Baku, but here we go, down the inside, same place as last lap, and again, Perez just has that traction, really good traction on the curbing there on the inside, so we're going to have to once again wait up the hill, DRS open, but this time we're going to force our way through to the inside. Despite Perez holding the line in the middle, we go to the inside, nip and tuck down the inside on the apex, a little bit of oversteer for good measure, but we do get it, and that has been such a hard fought P7 here. We've been pushing literally non-stop for about 5-6 laps after we overtook Magnussen for the final time to actually catch up to Perez, and then to do it in that way on the last lap of the Grand Prix to become best of the rest. That's pretty much a win for us in Formula B here in Formula 1. Absolutely awesome. Ricciardo gets some luck, but it's our day. P7 beating Magnussen. Get in.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy and to stay out of trouble.
So here come our winning drivers today, and what a race it was. There's been a big push at the factory lately to get these cars ready, and we can see the fruits of that labour today as Red Bull lift the winner's trophy.
So there we have it, best the rest, beating Magnussen, pretty damn satisfying. Hamilton with a really poor Grand Prix then in P6, but remember, still, I may have beaten Magnussen, but he's still got the best result the team has got to date, which was second place. I actually mistakenly kept on saying it was third place at Baku, but he actually ended up being second place last episode, so he's still got the best result the team's ever got in Formula 1, period, but I'll still take that. That was a really hard-fought race. Fantastic one there, you know, battling K-Mag and Alonso for pretty much the entire first half of that race, or 2/3, and then pushing flat out to catch the Force India like that at the end was really great. But Ricciardo wins the race, finally gets some luck there, but he's still, Red Bull is still only just about ahead of us in the constructors, so that's good. But we're now going to go to a post-race interview.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective.
It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it?
Obviously made some contact with Magnussen out there, so Claire's asked me about that. I'm just going to go with the funnier answer of I'm an idiot magnet, and that's actually decreased my rep with Haas.
You had a bit of contact today. Who was at fault there?
A second question about that, and again, I'm going to go into the defensive and say it wasn't my fault, and that's going to give me a showmanship perk, actually.
Great. Well, that's everything.
But overall, my rep with the team decreased, even though I got my showmanship up there, so I don't know. I mean, I gave honest answers. I feel I gave a bit of tongue-in-cheek one for the first one, and it looks like my team, despite my... I'm pretty sure Haas likes showmanship, but Haas don't appear to like my bit of comedy work in the answers there. So, yeah, that was a little bit annoying, but, you know, despite us doing a great job, they're still going to be a little bit peeved off maybe with the contact, as my engineer said mid-race. But I don't care. I just want to beat Magnussen, so a little bit of contact there between... I mean, you can see there, wow, my team rep went down quite a lot there, actually, due to my answers. Jesus. I mean, it's good to see, though. It's good to see if you give genuine answers, you are going to get sometimes a surprising result there from your team in terms of the way they react to it. So, yeah, it's all part and parcel of this new F1 2018 career mode system, and I'm really liking it because it gives a genuine difference to your career mode. Like, if you guys answer differently, it's going to be entirely a different way to swing about it. But now we go to the R&D now, and I've talked about balancing out the rear downforce upgrade with the front one. We're finally going to do that, so we're going to go for a front downforce upgrade. Remember, though, we can go for simultaneous updates, so we're also going to go for another minor rear downforce. So we've got 2 downforce upgrades on the way for the next race now, the Monaco Grand Prix, due to the brand new simultaneous development perk and also the reduced upgrade time. So it's only going to take 1 week for the minor upgrades, and we can do 2 at the same time from the same department if they're on a different tree. So we're already making really good progress to get away from Renault and McLaren in the R&D chart and the tree there, and the kind of pecking order you can see, and we're going to make a big stride at the Monaco Grand Prix. But yeah, mentioning that, looking forward to the next episode. The Monaco Grand Prix is always a fantastic race and one I look forward to in career mode, guys. But if you have enjoyed this one, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Alva. Hope you enjoyed your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.